And I'm your host, Iris, affectionately known as the Dream Whisperer. And today we have two dynamic women that are making a difference in the world. We have Dr. Kimberly Hagen from Psych at the very end. And then we also have Dr. Nyiema Carter. And I'm not going to say the other part because I'll botch it up. And we don't want to do that. And she's from Mosaic, and she has some other dynamic things. So I just want to say thank you for being here. But before we go any further, I want us to take a deep breath and inhale. Yeah. And exhale. So yeah, that helped, didn't it? Yeah, everything is in divine order. There are no mistakes. We are not a mistake. You are not a mistake. God breathed the breath of life in you and I. And although we are uniquely different, we are still a living soul, and we are created in the very image and after the likeness of the creator of all life. Come on, take another deep breath. Yeah, make sure that belly is expanded and exhale. Yeah. It's every time I do that, ladies, every time. I don't care what is going on. It will center me. Yes, I may have to take the very first one will center me, and then as I continue to do it, I start calming myself right on down, right? Yes. It's something about that breath. I guess that's why when the breath was given to us, and we were created in the image and after the likeness of the creator of our life, he said that it is good. And so I'm grateful for that today. I'm grateful to have you ladies here. Both of you ladies work in an industry that particularly for our community and for the Christian community often doesn't get talked about because number one, we don't need the assistance with mental health. And then number two, we believe God and we don't need the assistance of mental health. But we are learning, and it's in front and center, that there are some issues and challenges that we have that with prayer and belief we need to get some professional assistance. And so these ladies are here to talk about that and some of the work that they do to take the taboo away. I say taboo, I know, so don't correct me, but taboo away from the whole concept and idea of mental health. Yes. I've been a long time, she's been a long time support, Dr. Carter has been a long time supporter of me with my Be Inspired t-shirts, my bling bling. She has purchased for your group Mosaic. Yeah, Mosaic. Yeah. Talk a little bit about yourself.
Oh, wow.
And what is Mosaic? Yeah.
Let's see. So I start with I'm a licensed clinical psychologist, and Mosaic is actually a group of women. It's a mentoring group for women who are early career professionals, undergrad school, doctorate programs, master's programs, and it's really just about general wellness. Our mantra is academic excellence, general well-being, and professional development. So that's kind of what we focus on in that particular group. And so I have the private practice, which is Mohi Attaché, and my practice is actually for male and female, but I have a strong emphasis, if you will, for women, general well-being and things like that.
Yeah, awesome. And Dr. Hagen, a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm also a licensed clinical psychologist, and I wear many hats. I work at a large urban county hospital where I do pediatric care, and I work with and I work with kids who are under the supervision of DCFS, and I do forensic work there as well. So testifying and also determining findings to be submitted to court. And then, like Dr. Carter, I also have a private practice where I see everyone, but primarily women of color. Dealing with trauma issues has always been a focus of mine. I don't think for African American and people of color you can separate our legacy of trauma and its impact, its past, its current, and future impact on us. So that's something that's very important to me. So wearing all those hats has made it an interesting ride.
I am sure. I know one of the things in that I found really exciting since I think his birthday was yesterday, was it not? Prince, she said she wanted to be a background singer. For Prince. And I said, wow, we went from Prince to I guess he has that effect on you, you know. So that's awesome. You know, you said something, since you brought it up, I'm going to ask you, because both of you talked about forensic, and I had never personally heard of forensic psychology. What is that?
Dr. Carter?
Okay, so forensic psychology focuses on, you can think about it in two different ways. On one, there are people who have histories of incarceration, who are incarcerated, have history of incarceration. You can also look at, conceptualize an individual and predict behavior to some extent by looking at a history of behavior. But then there's also what Dr. Hagen does, and I'll let you share that part.
My piece of the forensic puzzle is actually working with victims. So gathering information and going through the connection with that in the legal process. So that they do, Dr. Carter is right, as many arms to the forensic work.
Awesome. So there's not just, because I know, I forget which one talked about criminology, criminal justice, and both of you, I guess, and it's awesome. I did not realize personally, and I'm sure our audience didn't either, the different components as it pertains to victims and those that are incarcerated, which is a victim as well, that is manifested in a different way. Wow, that's incredible. Okay, so you talked about, Dr. Hagen, how past, present, and future, the impact. And one of the things that I find really interesting that we are acknowledging and or seeing a lot of, be it due to social media, social media, no, and more social media, thank God, I guess, and technology, period, our phones and etc. We have witnessed and seen a lot of impact, the impact. What do you have to say? Because one thing I'm finding challenging, and as a matter of fact, ladies, I'm going back to school to get my master's in psychology and counseling, because I'm dealing and I'm working with a lot of men and women that are, you know, it's a layer that I see I need to have a skill set for that I may not have. And if we don't deal with that layer and we just deal with the outer layers, but then when we start digging deep and you don't have the extra things, it can be challenging. So with all that said, what do you see, or how do we move into the area of getting the necessary tools and help that we need and not be so resistant toward it?
I think one of the things that we are breaking through, and I think social media, I think about your work and you talk about balance. And so there's a balance. And with social media, yes, there's, a whole host of negatives that we can talk about and point out, but there's also some positives. And one of the biggest positives is connecting people to information. And I think for the African American community and also people of color, there's a stereotype of us being strong. So we don't access services. And any kind of mental health issue is seen as weakness usually. So people are reluctant. But I think with social what do you see, how do we move into the area of getting the necessary tools and help that we need and not be so resistant toward it? I think one of the things that we are breaking through, and I think social media, I think about your work and you talk about balance. And so there's a balance. And with social media, yes, there's, a whole host of negatives that we can talk about and point out, but there's also some positives. And one of the biggest positives is connecting people to information. And I think for the African American community and also people of color, there's a stereotype of us being strong. So we don't access services. And any kind of mental health issue is seen as weakness usually. So people are reluctant. But I think with social media, there's information. I always tell people that, you shop for your therapist. If you meet someone and you don't click with them, you don't feel a kind of connection, move on to the next one. It's okay. And to really think about it that way, this is usually a person that you will be spending a lot of time with, that you will be possibly sharing things that you never spoke of before. So it is really important for you to be connected. And I think social media has helped in that. It's spread good clinicians, quality work, word of mouth. So the information is out there. There's resources with Suicide Hotline. There's resources through Psychology Today. Both Dr. Carter and myself have websites. So there's information out there. And I think that's one of the best things about social media right now.
Awesome. What would you say, either one of you answer and piggyback on it in terms of what she just said, how do you make the distinction between depression and just tired? Or is it one and the same?
Well, I think generally speaking, there's things that we see, like if a person is just tired, then maybe they might be a little low energy, I'll call you tomorrow, that type of deal. But depression is experienced in a different way, on a much broader scale. You're talking about energy, work performance, social interactions, as well as that you can also observe changes in like personal hygiene, the inability to experience joy and things that they may have generally enjoyed. So for example, if a person was a member of a faith community, all of a sudden church isn't doing it anymore. They're withdrawn from family activities, they're withdrawn from maybe cooking, and you see them, there's a quite difference in presentation versus depression versus I'm just tired today. A person that's tired today can bounce back. Even a person that experiences depression can have bouts of bouncing back, but the predominant experience is low. So it's quite different.
Good. Now, she's also, Dr. Hagen also talked about some things over there. You want to piggyback on some of the things she said as it pertains to look how you guys looking at me as it pertains to in terms of we are viewed as strong strength and getting the necessary counseling and things that we need to get.
And I totally agree with that. I think that being strong is a good thing, being viewed as strong is a good thing, but people in general, people of African descent as well as those who are not, tend to see that as, you're strong, you don't need. And we ourselves even say we're strong, we don't need. As she said, it could be viewed as a weakness. An individual can be strong and still have need, and it's okay. I think that there's a lot of things happening this week in the news, and I think that it's very important that we have the conversations about general wellness. I think there's a perception that mental health is limited to crises. Mental health is limited to pathology or something is wrong. We have to talk about general well-being. We have to talk about promotion of emotional health as well as psychological health. And when we can talk about that, it brings awareness and it removes the stigma. So when there is a challenge, then we're able to say, hey, this is an outlet, that this is a resource. But we have to have a conversation about the benefits and the significance of emotional and psychological health in that term, so that we know that we're talking about mental health and not just feeling good.
Right, good. I like that. I like that. So, and there is a distinction in just feeling good and really having that conversation around the stigma and removing that stigma and finding that balance. Now, you are doing some exceptional work in the community and abroad. Talk about it.
Okay, so along the lines of the Mosaic Mentoring Group, what we do is I focus my practice on women. I just love working with women. And And a big part of that focus is general well-being, general wellness, and work-life balance. Why? Because women are always multitasking, whether you're married, mom, in school, caretaking for older parents, or what have you, doing all sorts of tasking. I have this special task at work and this and that. So lots of multitasking, and there needs to be some more support around general work-life balance. And so that's very important to me. I work with women who in school, women who, by the very nature of their work, are exposed to traumatic events every day. So we're talking about trauma nurses and EMTs and peace officers, firefighters. They're doing the work and they're trained to deal with it, but at some point it can become a burden without general balance and awareness of emotional health and that type of thing. I like to talk about just like maintenance. We go to the dentist every 6 months, we reboot our computers. We also need to think about general wellness as maintenance, not just in the time of crisis. So we do that internationally. I have a project that's called City to Village International Initiative, and what we do is promote feminine health and hygiene by gathering feminine products and distributing in a village called Ababa in Abia State, Nigeria, and we do this annually. It's specifically for women who don't have access. We can also compare that to here with mental health services to some extent, don't have access to running water and things like that. So feminine hygiene, they've been doing it for a long time, so it's not that they're not doing anything. It's just that in my thinking, what can I do? We could do more. Let's provide these things for them to kind of ease the burden. You know, like all women, they have the same aspirations for their children, for their spouses. They're resilient, they're women of faith, but they don't have all the resources, and they're oftentimes making decisions. Do I buy soap? Do I buy rice? So we get feminine hygienes as well as staple products, which is rice and beans. And last year, we were also able to include sardines and powdered milk.
Awesome.
Every year, trying to get bigger and bigger.
And you've been doing it now for how many years?
This is actually the third year.
This is the third year. Okay. But it's awesome. I can remember when you first got started. Yes. When you first got started. So that is awesome. It's called City to Village International. And of course, I will have the information on our website, the link where you can connect to her. Dr. Hagen, what are some of the things you want to tell us about Psych Think Incorporated and some of the other things you want to share?
I just want to kind of dovetail on what Dr. Carter was speaking about, emotional health. I often tell people that come to see me, your emotional health is critical, and it is on par and equal to your physical health. So if you're struggling with diabetes, you take care of that. If you're struggling with some type of health issue, you move on that. It should feel the same and be the same for your mental health.
I want you to share some tidbits of information of some tools perhaps, of what can be used as we're shedding the stigma away from mental health. What can be used to assist in kind of finding a balance, or when you see yourself maybe in not a full-blown depression, but what are some tools, if any?
I think one of the biggest hurdles is that people feel they don't have options.
Yes.
It is the underpinning of most mental illness. You don't.
Questions, concerns about your mental health? You have options. Contact Dr. Kimberly Hagen at www.psychthink.com.
I often tell people that come to see me, your emotional health is critical, and it is on par and equal to your physical health. So if you're struggling with diabetes, you take care of that. If you're struggling with some type of health issue, you move on that. It should feel the same and be the same for your mental health. Because if you don't have that, you can't move on the other things. I think that the process of accessing and being in mental health is a journey and a working together. Again, it is something that you should feel comfortable with. If you're not comfortable, there are numerous resources to reach out to. For those of you who work and have insurance through your employer, you can go through that. They have lots of employee EAP programs for people who are employed, and also there's so many services for children, for adolescents, and also for adults, who oftentimes adults are the last on the list because we are multitasking all the time. So I just like to see people reach out. For Psych Think, we are located in El Segundo, California, and we're available. I'm open to people contacting me and just asking questions. How do I access services? What do I need to do? This is a particular issue I'm dealing with. I have done that in the past, so I feel very comfortable with doing that. And then also, again, I'm at MLK in Los Angeles, and I'm there in pediatrics. I answer all kind of questions about peds and development, and my kid is doing this, is this okay? So there's resources there. You don't have to necessarily come and see either one of us, but I think accessing us to help kind of guide you through the maze is something we both do.
Yes.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. I think it's incredible. Also work with young people, marriages, individuals, and etc. One of the things that I have found, my husband made me a lot more aware of it, and it was another a mentor that I have, of when you're in the work of helping others, you're in the work of assisting others go through there, you have to find a space to release that, because you'll carry it, and it shows up in your physical body. And you're trying to figure, well, why am I feeling like this? Where is this coming from? But you have the energy, because so much is coming from you. So I'm speaking to leaders in particular. So much is coming from you, and then you're not replenishing yourself. Restoring and finding that balance with stuff, and then so you're not becoming short at home and snapping folks, Dreamcatcher International and Iris Inspires honors Dr. Nyiema Carter and City to Village International Initiative with the Brady Richardson Scholarship Fund. For more information how you can participate, please go to irisinspires.com/foundation. The City to Village International Initiative sole purpose is to elevate and validate the lives and voice of Ariba women, and our donors embraced our commitment to promote feminine health and hygiene. Please be a part of Phase 2 and fill a bucket as we ship products off to Nigeria to help our sisters, for we are our sisters' keeper. You're in the work of assisting others go through there, you have to find a space to release that, because you'll carry it, and it shows up in your physical body. And you're trying to figure, well, why am I feeling like this? Where is this coming from? But you have the energy, because so much is coming from you. So I'm speaking to leaders in particular. So much is coming from you, and then you're not replenishing yourself. Restoring and finding that balance with stuff, and then so you're not becoming short at home and snapping folks, or even finding yourself eating too much, drinking too much, whatever that thing is that you use as a coping mechanism. And it's so important. I like to say this to the faith-based community, to the world of faith-based, is many times we use scapegoat as church, and we don't realize that's what we're doing. We're scapegoating, and I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing, but what I am saying, when we don't deal with the health of our mental health as well as our spiritual health. Now, grant you, if we're dealing with the spiritual, it should manifest in the mental and back and forth. However, there are some things that we need to get some extra assistance in. We've seen it. We've seen where people are murdering people in our parking lots, or going to schools and shooting up people. This is not happening to somebody out there over there. This is happening in our communities. And so that simply means there's some areas that we're not paying attention to. And prayer is good, but we gotta get some help with that prayer. Okay, that's all I'm saying. And I appreciate the work that you ladies are doing in the community. I appreciate it. I appreciate the work that you're doing even internationally to be able to. How do you unload? How do you?
Oh, wow. I'm trying to get back to the gym a little more. But really the work that I do particularly with the women, while I am facilitating, I'm speaking to myself as well. When I'm talking about, mindfulness, when I'm talking about exercise, when I'm talking about organization, I'm also speaking to myself. So I try to practice what I share.
Absolutely. That's my mantra as well. I'm speaking it, but it's coming back to me.
And the more I reiterate to them, the more I reiterate to myself.
Absolutely. And you can't continue doing the work if your life is privately a mess. That's all. It's impossible. Not feel good and healthy about it.
No.
You're going to resort to some unhealthy. It doesn't work. You'll find some unhealthy things to start resorting to. How about you, Dr. Hagen?
The same. I find it's just been a blessing to me to be able to work with people and have people allow me. It's such a privilege to join their life. So just like Dr. Carter, when I'm saying stuff to them, I'm like, I need to do that. And finding the balance and having taking time. Sometimes I can't do it, and learning to say no.
Oh, no, it's not a bad word.
Right? And taking time for myself, that has been a process, but I've learned it primarily through my work and working with others and teaching that. So I have to also practice that as well.
I want you to talk about to our audience. We have a few moments before we go we close out, and I want you to share some tidbits of information of some tools perhaps of what can be used as we're shedding the stigma away from mental health. What can be used to assist in kind of finding a balance, or when you see yourself maybe in not a full-blown depression, but what are some tools, if any?
I think one of the biggest hurdles is that people feel they don't have options. It is the underpinning of most mental illness. You don't have an option. You don't feel you have an option. And there's options available. So my thing is always get educated, get informed. You can do it via your phone. You can sit at your desktop and do it and access information. You can also reach out to friends. You can reach out to community resources. We have a long tradition of our churches being our foundation in our community. So reaching out and passing information. We pass information in stories traditionally, and so we pass information also about I work with this person or this is a good person. So just getting informed, and that will help you make a better decision for your health overall.
Awesome. I want to appreciate and thank you. They're here because I have worked with both of them in some capacity, and so I know that the integrity of their work is from an authentic place of caring, of concern, and of the community and those that they work with. And so I think that's exceptionally awesome. I'm going to have the information on my website, on social medias with links so that you can connect with these dynamic women. They're doctors, they're professionals. We have over 25 years. Probably together makes 50. We got 25 on one. And so it's about 50 years of experience we're talking about. We're not talking about somebody who doesn't have some experience here. And then you add me and make 75. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. So make sure that you check us out at irisinspires.com. Again, that's irisinspires.com. I'll have all of the information there. Dr. Carter, Dr. Hagen, thank you so much for sharing. Listen, I want to thank our supporters, Carson Christian Center, my pastor Henry and Katie Yando, and then the O2 Worldwide, where the first wealth is health, and we're talking about mental health along with physical health. www.epxo2.com is the website to get more information on that. Don't forget about our Empowerment Summit. I have asked if they're available. I think you're going to be out of town. I'm not sure. But we have talked to them. So hopefully They will be able to confirm with us. We'll have a list, but go to our website. For those of you who are used to our summit being in July, it is September 14th and 15th this year in Carson, California at the DoubleTree Hotel. There's information. You can register. Please register early at irisinspires.com, irisinspires.com. Do not forget to breathe as you inhale and exhale. Yeah, oh my gosh. I can't imagine nobody not doing that. Inhale and exhale. Yes, it reminds you and I that we are a living soul, uniquely different. But breath is what makes us family. So if we can remember that, it can eliminate a lot of the anxiety. It can eliminate a lot of the things that we see as different when we see that we are nothing but family, breathing the same oxygen. God bless you. Don't forget to breathe. Sometimes we forget. We get caught up and forget who we are. Why are we here? And we are pulled, it can pull us into this journey, and as we are pulled into this journey, we can take a deep breath and remember that we are a miracle. The miracle of breath, remembrance. And all that you do, be the full expression of God in the earth. Sometimes that is the God, the only God, some will see. God bless you, and see you next time.